I'm in Brooklyn today at the Restoration Plaza, where Vice President Kamala Harris made an historic visit as well as an historic announcement at the Bed-Stuy Stuyvesant Restoration Corporation. She announced today that the administration, the Biden-Harris administration, will be making tens of millions, billions of investments through a public-private partnership in conjunction with 24 companies, including Rockefeller Foundation, Goldman Sachs, Capital One, Bank of America. That investment will go into communities such as this to build wealth, by supporting small businesses, supporting community organizations such as the Restoration Corporation, that will reinvest those investments, those funds back into the community.
Banks and investment firms, to technology companies and philanthropy, are joining our administration to take action to increase opportunity and to build wealth in historically underserved communities. Together, these organizations, with us, will invest tens of billions of dollars to provide capital to community lenders, to support entrepreneurship, in particular for women-owned and minority-owned businesses, and to expand access to financial services and create affordable housing and protect affordable housing. In the coming months, our administration will work closely with all members of this coalition to make sure that we are maximizing the impact of every dollar that is spent. Because we do recognize that when we create opportunity in communities that have been left out and left behind, our entire nation benefits. You know, these days we talk a lot about the economy. Well, let us understand, we all do better as a nation when all our communities do better. It's that old saying about the rising tide lifts all ships. And so that is the spirit with which we do this work. And today we have gathered in a neighborhood that is living proof of the power of this approach. By the mid-1960s, I know most of you here know this story, but I'll share it with the folks who are new. By the mid-1960s, Bed-Stuy was facing tremendous challenges. Decades of discriminatory lending practices had drained the capital and the opportunity from this neighborhood. And so to address these challenges, leaders of Bed-Stuy, great leaders like our dearly departed Al Van, who passed away just 2 weeks ago. I was speaking with the General, James, about that. These leaders came together with national leaders and decided to try something new. In 1967, they founded the Bed-Stuy Restoration Corporation. Now this is part of why I'm here. It was our nation's first public-private community development corporation. And because of its success, it remains not only the first, but a model for all the rest. For 55 years, Restoration has helped to unlock the potential of this beautiful community by providing job placement for over 24,000 young people and adults, by investing $60 million in mortgage financing for homeowners, and by attracting more than $500 million in investments for this community. All across our nation, there are places like Bed-Stuy, reservoirs of ambition and aspiration, just waiting to be tapped. The mission of our coalition and the mission of our administration is to match potential with opportunity in every community across our nation.
I spoke with Mayor Eric Adams and New York Attorney General Letitia James, as well as the president of the Restoration Corporation, on what this historic announcement means for the community. The black community means for Brooklyn as well as for black community, underserved community across the nation.
It is an important partnership. We were able to mobilize $8 million of corporate dollars to go out and use it to help with our homeless outreach. Because as it stands now, ATM vegetables, private lobbies, all these areas we can't go into. But because of this partnership, Breaking Ground is now able to go into those locations to give people real resources, real support, and get them out of homelessness into supportive housing. So it's a great partnership.
And the announcement that the Vice President made today, how will that support some of the affordable housing that you're trying and the investments in the black community?
So it's about small businesses. Small businesses allow us to hire locally. It builds wealth, and that's what the announcement was today. How do we build wealth on the ground? We want to thank the President.
Thank you. What does it mean for the Vice President to be here today?
Well, more importantly, what does it mean for a graduate of Howard University to come home to Bedford-Stuyvesant? Vice President Kamala Harris is here to provide some HUD funds. We certainly need housing. This neighborhood loves her. They voted overwhelmingly for President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. It's an honor and a privilege to have her here in Bedford-Stuyvesant, and it's an honor and a privilege to be in her presence.
And now let's talk about the historic announcement that you will be making today. The tens of billions of dollars that will go into the black and brown community.
Exactly. It's tens of billions of dollars for communities that have been under-resourced for a very long time to address the housing conditions here, not only in Brooklyn, but all across this country. You know, we've got aging infrastructure. As you know, my office as the Attorney General had brought a number of cases against bad landlords. And here today, the Vice President Kamala Harris has heeded our call, and she's answering the need to address the housing conditions, not only in Brooklyn, but all across this nation and all across the state. It's a great day in Brooklyn.
So you guys, you are here to see the Vice President?
Yes, I'm here to be a presence for my company. My company is called True Fund Financial.
True Fund Financial?
Yes, and we're a CDFI, so that's one of the topics of discussion today.
Yeah, there will be, the Vice President will be announcing, you probably know about this, the EOC initiative, a private-public partnership that we invest in minority community. With what you're doing, can you talk about how this will benefit your organization?
Well, you know, as a CDFI, we're here to really make an impact by providing access to capital to traditionally underserved communities. And so that's what we've been doing for the last 17 years at True Fund, and I'm just happy to be a part of the conversation.
Oh, okay. Do you think what the Treasury, the fund from the American Rescue Plan, and what the administration is doing, do you think that is enough in terms of investment and also policy to bring about some changes in the community?
I think it's a great start. You know, here in the United States, there have been efforts made over the years historically. I think this is a bigger leap into that effort, and I just hope that it can continue into the future.
Can you talk to me about how this historic event came about?
I received a call from Next Street, which is a partner that provides financial assistance to businesses. And I had done some work with Next Street in my former capacity during my time at Carver Bank. I guess because of me coming over here, there was a connection, and they said that they wanted to do a meeting here, that the Vice President wanted to come here to Bed-Stuy to have this meeting and make historic remarks. And you know, when you get that call, You don't pass that up. So we said we would do whatever would be necessary. And what that also turned into was another major convening happening during the morning with public-private partnerships, in addition to the vice president. So we said that they could use our space, use our campus, and we would accommodate and do what we could to make sure that we could host the vice president as well as the corporate partners and public sector.
You've been at the job for a little over a year, almost a year.
No, I've been at the job for less than a month.
Less than a month.
28 days.
Yeah, 28 days. So this is really, really significant.
It is.
And it's a boost to some of the plans that you have ahead. Can you talk about some of those plans?
Sure. So I mentioned it a little bit. I mean, one of the biggest plans that we have is the creation of the Innovation Campus. And what that means is a reimagining and rebuilding of this entire plaza. It would look like 3 individual towers that would be built in the same footprint. And the towers would consist of one that's focused on STEM education and technology, another that's focused on cultural arts, and another that's focused on entrepreneurship and small business.
So let's talk about STEM technology. As we know, that's an area that the Black and Brown community often don't go into.
Correct.
So what is your plan to reach out to the community, to the youth, to participate in that program?
So that's a very good question. I think because of who we are, because of where we're located, because we are in the iconically Black community, one of the largest urban communities in the country, we have access to a pipeline of people, particularly young people. And we have already started doing the work. As we've indicated, we touch about 1.5 million people every year just by the work that we do, given our space in the arts, our workforce development, our job training programs, our financial literacy programs. So we are already touching people. But what we're also doing is creating programming and partnerships, particularly one with Marcy Labs. It's called Breakthrough Technology. And we are bringing young people, we are training them through Marcy Labs to get jobs in the STEM and technology space. These young people are getting jobs after their training program and after we work with them as well, where they're making over $107,000 a year. And they are being successful in doing that. Our first cohort of 20 people, 19 of those young people have jobs where they're making over $107,000 annually. And they're maintaining their jobs, and they're getting bonuses, and they're continuing along the path to economic mobility and viability. We are now working on our second cohort.
Okay. If someone wants to apply into the program, how do they do that?
Through the program is being done in conjunction with the Marcy Lab, located in Industry City, and we are working in conjunction with them. So they would be working with Marcy Lab as well as Restoration, who provides a scaffolding and a support for those businesses. For those young people, I should say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You talk about entrepreneurship also. I was talking to some of the people in the neighborhood, and their comments varies, and it's like, well, we're glad she came, the vice president came, but we really don't believe we will benefit from this because the neighborhood has been gentrified, and some of these people have lived in the neighborhood for over 30 years, for decades, and they have invested in the community, but they said they're not reaping their benefits right now. So how do you turn things around? I mean, given COVID, we've gone through COVID, and a lot of small businesses have also closed.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good time to reposition ourselves and to take a look at where is the community today? Because as you said, COVID has happened, and our businesses have suffered as a result of that. And what does it mean for a business who has undergone, excessive transformation due to COVID, what does it mean for them to be successful today? Because that's probably very different than it was back in 2018. So I think we have to take a look at where our businesses are today, and can we meet the needs of those businesses? Does it mean much more flexible financing, longer term financing? I think these are the things we need to start to take a look at to figure out how do we help businesses not only survive but thrive given where they are. So that's number one. When it comes to gentrification, I think we have to be very deliberate about the work that we're doing in this community, because we know this community is changing quickly before our eyes. I think it is important for us to maintain to maintain what we've already established in our culture and arts, because in a community that's gentrifying, it is important that they understand that culture and arts builds community, and this is a Black community, and we have to be intentional about what we're bringing here, what we show people, and what people see, and the bodies they see moving, and the type of art that we're bringing. So we have to be intentional that we're going to maintain that in this community. And then I think the next thing with gentrification, I think we have to make sure that we're making opportunities for the people who have been here and who have lived here, for them to continue to live here affordably. So that's working with a program with our public partners to ensure that they can have affordable housing and that they're able to live in the communities that they were born in. And I think we have to be part of those conversations. We have to be at the table. We have to be the thought leaders to ensure that we are speaking for the voice of the community. So I do think it's difficult, but I do think that it's important that we speak to the community, hear from them, hear what they want, and that we start to use our voice as a convener and use our voice to make their voices heard and figure out how we can bring resources to the table to make sure that they remain in this community.
When you look, let's fast forward 5 years from now, and you look back on today's events, and like you said, you just started, and you look back on your tenure, what would you like to see?
What I would like to see is all of the businesses and all of the foundations that were here today, that they make commitments, and all of the corporate partners, that they make commitments to put real dollars and investments in organizations like Bed-Stuy Restoration and all the Bed-Stuy restorations throughout the country to make a difference in the communities. Not just think about it, not just talk about it, but actually do the work and put it into the organizations that have rubber, we have rubber to road, where the rubber meets the road. These organizations that are truly on the ground, that are grassroots organizations that know what the community needs, to put the money in us and allow us to do the work that we know that needs to be done. So I want to see actual change. I want to see action, not just discussion about in 5 years. I'd like to see that we have already started building or completing the building of one of our first towers based on investments and based on collaborations that we talked about here today. So I'm hopeful that all this meeting and the convening and bringing CDFIs and bringing philanthropy to the table will bring something substantive and real.